to order the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council on February 18th, 2025. And I'd ask that you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Tamer, roll call, please.
Hill.
Here.
Banco. Here. Jensen.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Toludo. Here. Park. Here. Nudera.
Here.
Bastido. Here. Nardini.
Here.
Brennan.
Here.
Irby.
Here.
Barimas. Here. Bellinger.
Here.
14 present, 0 absent.
14 present, 0 absent. We have a quorum. Item 3, receipt of written communications from the public. Is there any member of the public that has a written communication that he or she would like to deliver to the council?
I did receive one, and it'll be posted on board docs tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Moving on to public forum, Clerk Tamer, has anyone signed in for public forum this evening?
Yes, Mayor. Tom Eldergott, please.
And Mr. Altergott, if you'll step to the rear microphone, and as you know, state your name, address is optional, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, Council. Tom Altergott, 144 South Rex. I would like to address the proposed change to Chapter 24 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances of the City of Elmhurst entitled Building Code included in tonight's consent agenda as item 6.20. I commend the city for showing any interest at all in regulating the design and construction of window wells after neglecting their duty to enforce the existing ordinances and leaving it up to the builders and their designers for decades, as was suggested by a speaker at the last council meeting. This non-enforcement has resulted in window wells inside side yard setbacks throughout the city. The staff tells residents that the ordinance is silent on window wells, when any person with 6th grade reading skills can see that our Code of Ordinances is not silent on window wells once they bother to read it. This proposed section to be added, 24.24, is entitled Window Wells in a Flood Inundation Area. Yet, the very first item states that all window wells shall be within 6 inches of grade when not located in a flood inundation area. Why does this sentence appear in this section? Why would I look here if I am not building in the flood zone? Also, if the city is going to create an ordinance based on a flood zone map of Elmhurst, then it needs to be publicly available so potential homeowners and builders will know this ahead of time. The staff realize that the vast majority of all houses built in the last 20 years outside of the flood zone could be rendered non-compliant by this statement. I think that the council should not enact this proposal as it is written. While this proposal attempts to rationalize the existence of concrete window wells taller than 6 inches above grade, at least in part of the city, it fails to address an underlying problem that exists between staff and council committee members. When DPZ committee members are told that window wells are being permitted inside the side yard setback for public safety, that is only a partial truth. Yes, an egress well is required for public safety for basement bedrooms. However, none of these wells need to be in the side yard setback. The only purpose for permitting them in the side yard setback is to line the pockets of builders and maximize city tax revenue at the expense of existing residents due to the drainage and soil collapse problems that accompany these concrete window wells in the side yard setback. Please do not pass this amendment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
That's it, Mayor.
All right, that's the end of those who have signed in to make public comment. Is there any member of the audience who would like to make public comment but did not have the opportunity to sign in? If so, please raise your hand. All right, we will close public forum. Item 5, announcements. Is there any announcements? Are there any announcements from the dais this evening? Alderman Bastido.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have 2. One is that there is the annual No Frills Fun Run this coming Sunday morning. You can gather at Olympia Chiropractic, and is it Olympia or Olympic?
Olympic.
Olympic. 8:45 is the pre-run ceremony and 9 o'clock is the run. This year, they are benefiting 3 Elmhurst families that are in need, and it is, I think, probably their 11th or 12th year. They are now raising almost or over $100,000 a year for local families. Every single penny goes directly to the families. The group that puts this fun run on, it started very small. They do not pay themselves anything, so it's a great cause. Please find more information at nofrillsfunrun.org. My second announcement is at the request of some of my neighbors. So I live in a part of Elmhurst that's southeast, the southeast corner. We're south of Butterfield Road, and a few years ago we were very happy to get a crosswalk across Butterfield Road to connect to Butterfield Park. And there are flashers, and that was good news, but not everyone stops. So it's just a reminder at the request of my neighbors that it is state law to stop for pedestrians in a crosswalk, and we just want to keep everyone safe. So I told them I would deliver that announcement. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman? Any other announcements? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Clerk Kamer, would you read the consent agenda?
6.1 minutes of the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council on February 3rd, 2025. 6.2 accounts payable, February 18th, 2025, $4,603,256.81. 6.3 Commission on Youth reappointments, Derek Schlager, Rick Mojak, and Mary Smith. 6.4 report sidewalk improvement funds accrual. 6.5 report Dan Gibbons Twilight Run. 6.6 report 2025 Elmhurst French Market. 6.7 report Explore Elmhurst Trolley Contract for 2025. 6.8 report Sidewalk Master Plan. 6.9 report Spring and Eggleston Area Stormwater Improvements, Design Engineering. 6.10 report 2024 Sidewalk Replacement Program, Balancing Change Order. 6.11 report 2025 Contract Paving Program, Construction Bids. 6.12 report Streetlight Controller Upgrades. 6.13 report Streetlight and Signal Pole Purchase. 6.14 report Purchase of Heavy-Duty Log Body and Rear Mounted Loader. 6.15 report PW 115 Refurbishment and Replacement of Dump Body. 6.16 report Flooring Purchase. 6.17 report 2 Ford Escape and hybrid all-wheel drive hybrids. 6.18 report IPWMAN Mutual Aid Agreement. 6.19 an ordinance granting an amended conditional use permit to the property commonly known as 600 West North Avenue, Elmhurst, Illinois. 6.20 an ordinance to add sections 24.24 entitled Window Wells in a Flood Inundation Area of Article 3 entitled Drainage of Chapter 24 entitled Building Code of the Elmhurst Municipal Code. 6.21 an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a non-exclusive license agreement by and between the Elmhurst Running Club, Inc. and the City of Elmhurst, DuPage, and Cook Counties, Illinois. 6.22 an ordinance making appropriations for the Special Service Area Number 16 of the City of Elmhurst for fiscal year beginning January 21, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. 6.23 an ordinance making appropriations for Special Service Area Number 6 of the City of Elmhurst for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2025. 6.24, an ordinance making appropriations for Special Service Area Number 13 of the City of Elmhurst for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2025. 6.25, a resolution to adopt the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference 2025 Legislative Action Program. 6.26, a resolution to approve and adopt the ADA Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. 6.27, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a professional resident engineering services agreement with Engineering Resources Associates, Inc. for the 2025 Contract Paving Program. 6.28, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a notice of award and the execution of a contract for the City of Elmhurst 2025 through 2027 tree removal and tree trimming project. 6.29, a resolution authorizing the issuance of notice of award in contract for the 2025 sanitary sewer lining and manhole rehabilitation project number 25-15 for the City of Elmhurst, Illinois. And 6.30, a resolution to approve and authorize the execution of a highway authority agreement, a supplemental highway authority agreement, and an agreement to reimburse costs with Meta Motors, Inc.
Thank you, Clerk Tamer. Is there any item on the consent agenda that any alderman would like to remove, either for further discussion or to vote against? Alderman Brennan?
6.8.
6.8. Alderman Irby?
6.2, 6.7.
6.2, 6.7. All right. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items 6.2, 6.7, and 6.8? Alderman Nardini with a motion, Alderman Bastido with a second. Clerk Tamer?
Hill?
Aye.
Go?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Cahill?
Aye.
Toledo?
Aye.
Park?
Aye.
Nudera?
Aye.
Bastido?
Aye.
Nardini?
Aye.
Brennan?
Aye.
Irby?
Aye.
Bellinger?
Aye.
Arimas?
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The consent agenda passes. On to item 6.2. Clerk Tamer, would you read the item?
Accounts payable, February 18th, 2025, $4,603,256.81.
We have a motion to approve the accounts payable. Alderman Toledo. Second, Alderman Nudera. Any discussion? Alderman Toledo.
I would defer to the alderman that pulled this from the consent agenda.
Alderman Irby.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chair. I pulled this because of an appearance of conflict of interest. There's a payment going to the American Legion for $8,000 in the AP detail for a grant. And that grant was applied for before I became on the payroll at the American Legion. So as of January of 2025, I am now the manager of the American Legion, and therefore I will recuse myself on the vote of the AP with that transaction in there present.
All right, so you're not on the board of either
Correct, yeah.
entity?
So just to clarify, Mayor, that's a good point. There are two boards at the American Legion. There's the building corporate, and then there's the body of the whole that we call the post board. I'm on neither one of those boards and have no votes as a employee. I'm strictly there, invited to those boards if invited only.
All right, so I don't see that there's a conflict of interest, given that you're not on the board. But you will be voting present?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Clerk Tamer, call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, anyone else? Alderman Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. I am on the board at the American Legion, appointed as judge advocate, so I will vote present.
Very good. Anyone else on the board here? All right, Clerk Tamer.
Hill?
Present.
Shanko?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Cahill?
Aye.
Toledo?
Aye.
Park?
Aye.
Nudera?
Aye.
Bastido?
Aye.
Nardini?
Aye.
Brennan?
Aye.
Irby?
Present.
Bellinger?
Aye.
Arimas?
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 present.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 present. Item 6.2 passes. Item 6.7, Clerk Tamer, please read the report.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Affairs and Safety Committee that the City Council approve the 2025 Explore Elmhurst Trolley Program and authorize the city attorney to prepare the necessary documents for City Council approval. Signed, Alderman Michael Brennan, Chair, Alderman Guido Nardini. Not signed, Alderman Jacob Hill, Vice Chair.
We have a motion to put 6.7 before the council. Alderman Brennan, second Alderman Nardini. Alderman Brennan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a fairly straightforward report. It's the Elmhurst Trolley. The Elmhurst Trolley program has been around since 2015 with the goal of really supporting the Explore Elmhurst campaign and encourage all potential consumers, including our residents as well as visitors, to explore the happenings around our business community. Last year, staff extensively evaluated the potential of expanding the trolley route by adding additional stops. However, it was concluded no additional stops were viable. That said, we actually eliminated one stop due to low usage. This year's program, like last year, the trolley route will consist of 6 stops: York and Park, York and Schiller, 2nd and Addison, Cottage Hill and Virginia, Spring and the Prairie Path, York and Villette. We'll have, two program seasons, if you will, one in the summer, 16 weeks, starting May 30th. The trolley will be running Friday and Saturday during that time frame. A winter program and holiday program, 5 weeks starting November 29th. That'll be Saturday only. And then also, as many know, we leverage the trolley during St. Patrick's Day and Memorial Day parades. There is one change that I want to call out for this year's program. City staff will be taking over 100% of the advertising effort to sell the 24 available spaces, ad spaces on the trolley. Historically, this has been a joint effort, between the chamber and the city. So the city will exclusively be in charge of that this year. And then, lastly, staff came to committee proposing AIRS charter transportation. AIRS has been providing service for the last 4 years and has done an outstanding job. They've proven to be very reliable. Their trolleys are of high quality drivers, fair price. If you do the math between this year's pricing and last year's pricing, it's slightly over 3.5% increase. All in all, they've exceeded expectations in delivering this program for us. I appreciate the council's support in voting yes for this successful and very popular program. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Brennan. Discussion? All right. Alderman Irby.
Thank you, Mayor. If you remember, we were here March 4th, 24, last time we talked about and approved the trolley report. It was a vote of 9-5. There are some issues that I have with the current report. Number one is the contract, which is a no bid status, requires a 2/3 vote on City Council to pass because it's a no bid, and we're also at 4 years, actually 6 years into the contract where we've had the same vendor, and under the purchasing policy, every 4 years, professional contracts had to be reviewed. There's no mention of that in the report. So those two coupled together require 2/3 vote, so I request if we do go to vote that we have a 2/3 majority to pass the report. If someone says, well, that's for professional services only, well, that is exactly what the Aries contract is. It is a professional services. We're hiring professional drivers who are professional CDL driver license that have to have clean records 100%. We do not get any tangible products. We're simply renting their equipment, not much different than an engineering service. Number two, the goals of the program, as we discussed last year, and we really haven't changed any. We expressed among the 5 aldermen that we wanted change. We wanted to increase the routes. We wanted some modifications to the report. It appears nothing has happened in this past year with respect to those requests of last year, which were many. The report has the program has a presence throughout the calendar year, with most of the activity being the summer months. Well, this is really not true. It only runs 16 weeks, and it's 5 weeks in the winter, and I believe there's 52 weeks in a year. So I'm not sure how it's throughout the year. One of the goals that's still stated in the program is that it goes to all the communities in town. and we have 7 business districts, it goes to 3. We don't even make half the business districts. That was brought up last year, and no change in status. We do have our, as Alderman Brand brought up last year, we have our matrix that was brought up. That kind of just showed up. I don't know if it's in the plan or not, but it kind of just dropped in. Well, some of the routes that have been proposed, or stops that could be proposed, are just as easy to fit in the matrix as the stop at Phase 3 in the Spring Business District. If we were at Mariano's on the north, or anywhere one of those have fit all the bills just as much as the other stops, in my opinion. The only thing they don't have is city-owned. Well, I don't think York and Villette has anything right there close. You have to go behind the Knights of Columbus to go to one of our stormwater projects to get parking. When you're over at Phase 3, there is a small parking lot behind. I guess that does qualify. But I don't think we should use city-owned parking lots as a restriction for our stops. We can get approval from the landowners or the property owners on those stops if we really wanted to try. I know we could get approval at the American Legion to have a stop. Now, I'm not saying we have a stop there, but the point is it can be done, and I wish that would be done. Let me see if I got any other issues. I think at this point I'll turn it back to the floor and to the next person.
All right. I'm not going to treat this as a professional service. That would be an accountant, an engineer, what we would regard as the professions, attorneys. But I've consulted with our city attorney, and because it's non-competitive, we are looking for 10 votes. Additional discussion. Alderman Hill.
Thank you. Having been involved in this subject over the past few years, I hope it's no secret that this is a subject I feel very passionate about. And, we had a lot of discussion about this last year, and although I'm voting yes on the trolley report today, and I do support the trolley report and the Explore Elmhurst trolley, I had some issues that prevented me from signing it at the time in committee. Because at the time we discussed it, we did not have a lot of the data that we collect that I needed to help me make some decisions, such as ridership by stop, who gets on and off at all those stops. Is there a stop that needs to be reevaluated because it's not being used a lot? And we also didn't have ridership by day and hour. What are the popular times of day for the trolley? For instance, after 10 o'clock, the trolley is essentially not ridden. Sad blow to those who use it for bar hopping or whatnot, but we don't use it very much at night. But that being said, we didn't have that information. It was requested, and I was hoping to have another committee meeting to discuss it, which leads to my second part, is that I wanted to have more discussion about the evolving criteria for stops along the trolley route. It seems like the criteria has changed a little bit, or what constitutes a stop, or how it fits in with the route. Doesn't quite match up with the criteria we used in the past. And again, it's no secret that I wholeheartedly support testing stops, right? Testing new stops, adjusting. It's a dynamic route to me a little bit, right? We use the stops that are popular, and then we drop stops that aren't working and add new stops. Looking at the data, it looks like we could have talked about that a little bit. And I also am interested in piloting new routes that maybe can be tacked on as part of our current season, just using a few weeks to perhaps try a unique route. I'm not saying that's the answer, but those were things I was interested in talking about at committee. And because we didn't get the chance to do that, I could not sign the report. But again, I do support the trolley program. I'm a big proponent of the trolley. If you call me Alderman Trolley, I'll probably answer. So let's try it. No. That being said, I do think it's a great program, and I'm glad we have it in Elmhurst. Thank you.
Alderman Bram.
Thank you.
First, I want to start off with Alderman Irby mentioned my name with our debate on it last year, and I want to just make a comment this year on that since it was brought up this year. Since the trolley has been in place, there has not, until last year, and this is the clarifier that I want to make, until last year, there has not been any documented criteria on how we arrived at stops until last year. That's what I want to make sure is clear, that there may have been criteria that was discussed, but nothing was ever documented, to my knowledge, until last year. With that said, the criteria that has been documented, it seems like some of the stops, or at least, I shouldn't say some, one of the stops that is mentioned this year doesn't fit that. And that is in regards to having a business association, since one of those stops no longer has a business association, but the stop still remains. So I do understand criteria. If we're going to hold each stop to that criteria, or say that those criteria need to be met, well, then we shouldn't have one of these stops, and it's irrelevant which one I'm referring to, but we shouldn't have one of these stops for this year if it's not meeting the criteria. So either we need to make this criteria recommended, or we need to hold each stop accountable and make sure each one of those reaches that criteria, which I do not feel is the case for this year. Another point I wanted to make, and not to be redundant with what other aldermen have stated, I just got these data points sometime this afternoon from our assistant city manager. Alderman Hill already made a statement on it, but I'm not sure what the goal is of our trolley. And the reason why, one of the reasons why I say that is that we're running until 12 o'clock. Well, then obviously it's not really oriented towards families if we're running until 12 o'clock. Alderman Hill mentioned, and the data that I saw late this afternoon said the same thing, that we have 10, 20, according to the information I received, which was one of the busiest weekends of the summer for the trolley. We had one day, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday, had like 10 people between 11 and 12, and 25 to 30 people for the other day of that weekend. Why are we running the trolley if we're really not getting the attendance or the ridership at those hours? So the goal that was mentioned for the trolley is to create an iconic service in Elmhurst that attracts potential consumers to the main shopping districts while offering incentives and experiences. Well, to me, if we're going to stay stagnant on the stops, we're not doing that. We're not attracting the consumers to the shopping districts, at least not new consumers throughout town. So as Alderman Hill has stated, I think we need to continue to explore. We need to be a little bit either more precise or a little bit looser on our criteria to when we come to evaluating stops for the trolley. Lastly, thank you for Alderman Brennan for clarifying in regards to the sponsorships, the advertising sponsorships now. At previous years, I think up until this year, it was a shared between the chamber and the city. And as of this year, even though when I read the report I wasn't sure, I started asking around. As of this year, it's not shared between the city and the chamber anymore. There's no revenue split between the city and the chamber. It's now 100% city only. All that being said, I wholeheartedly support the trolley. I just want to see the trolley service evolve and continue to evolve to be the best possible for all residents in the city of Elmhurst. Even though we have explored some new stops over the last handful of years, I think we need to do better and continue to evaluate that going forward. With that said, I will support this report tonight. I am concerned that we have not used another trolley provider since we've started the trolley. Going out for bid, if you want to declare it a professional service or not, I think that it is needed to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck, to see what else is out there instead of continuing with the same provider without considering any other providers out there. Thank you.
All right, let me just add some information. So we did bid it 2 years ago.
We did what?
We bid it 2 years ago.
Oh, when I wasn't here.
Well, we did in your absence, so you didn't think you'd mind, but we did. All right. And I also want to clarify, as I've consulted a little bit further with council, we're at the report stage, so the 10 votes would be required for the ordinance, so we're looking for a simple majority on the report. The ordinance, if the report passes, will require 10. Alderman Irby.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman Bram, for stating that I think everybody here on council wants the trolley, enjoys the trolley, and I am for the trolley. I just want expanded routes like we mentioned last year, and that has not occurred yet. I hope it occurs this year. That's what I said. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day here. We spent $2,500 last year to get hourly data that I have not seen. Where is the hourly data? Did we get our $2,500 back? Was that presented in committee? I haven't seen it. So there's a lot of missing pieces in the report that I would like to see. And it's difficult to go forward with a report that's missing some key data points. So I would make a motion. I don't know if it's going to pass, but I would make a motion that we take this back to committee and let's address the issues that we brought up tonight and on March 4th and bring this back next committee.
There's a motion to send back to committee, we'll call it. Is there a second? All right, dies for a second. Further discussion on the motion. Alderman Brennan.
Not on the motion.
No, the motion did not have a second.
Okay,
So
I
we're on the
gotcha.
main
Okay.
motion, which is to adopt the report.
Okay.
The one- it's
So
your
I just
motion.
wanted to add a couple
Yes.
additional data points. So I don't have it in front of me, but if I recollect this data point correctly, ridership on the trolleys up, 10% year over year. So I think that's always a good, benchmark. And I wanted to add that. And there was one other thing that eludes me at the moment. But, there's something Alderman Bram said. I'm going to have to yield the floor back to the chair. I can't remember. I'll look at you, Alderman Bram, and see if it comes to me.
All right, is there anyone besides Alderman Irby, so that under our procedures, I should give those who have not spoken yet a chance to speak? All right, Alderman Irby.
Just a quick polishing on the ridership data. When you look at it as a total, Alderman Brennan is correct. When you look at the seasonal data, we flush out some more detail. The winter ridership was down. The summer ridership was up. The net is true. So again, there's more data points where maybe we need to adjust the Holly trolley. Maybe we need to adjust the summer. The report does not mention that. Thank you.
All right, Alderman Brennan.
Just one last comment. I didn't remember Alderman Bram, but to Alderman Irby's comment, with respect to, oh my gosh, no. Oh my gosh, I'm just totally losing it
But the
tonight.
data between...
Oh, yeah, so I apologize. So with respect to the data, week to week, it's going to vary based on weather. And, we'll see swings in the summer program, the winter program, et cetera. So we're going to always see, some volatile data, come out of the systems that we're using to capture this. And that makes total sense. I mean, if it's super cold, people are probably not going to be, doing much of the trolley. But, so that's that.
All right, Alderman Hill.
Alderman Trolley, Right.
Alderman Trolley?
So I just wanted to, I guess, when I was reflecting on it, make one more comment in that I hope when we go forward next year, I think I've made my peace with it this year, but, I think we collect data because we want to refine the route, right? We want to see what works, what doesn't, and it has value or else we wouldn't pay for it. We wouldn't collect it. So I hope, I don't know, maybe I'm just challenging myself. I challenge us to look to it next year and see if there's a way that we can try new things with it. I don't see it as a static program. I see it as something dynamic that we can test and add to and perhaps find a route that better serves our community while keeping the routes the stops that work. It's probably way more than people want to hear about the trolley, but I think it has, I think it's such a valuable resource that I want to see it succeed and I want to see it grow. And I think it's time to use that data to feed back in and see what new innovative things we can do with it. Thanks.
All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Hill.
Aye.
Schenko. Aye. Jensen.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Cahill.
Aye.
Toludo.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Nudera.
Aye.
Bastido.
Aye.
Nardini.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Irby.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Aye. 14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays, 6.7 passes. Moving on to 6.8, Clerk Tamer, please read the report.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Affairs and Safety Committee that the City Council approve a sidewalk master plan and budget dollars towards new sidewalk installations with an initial priority to sidewalk installations along suggested walking routes for schools. The committee recommends the city attorney be authorized to prepare the necessary documents for City Council approval. Signed, Alderman Michael Brennan, Chair, Alderman Jacob Hill, Vice Chair, and Alderman Guido Nardini.
We have a motion to put 6.8 before the council. Alderman Brennan, second Alderman Hill, Alderman Brennan.
Thank you, Mayor. So, a sidewalk master plan. I'm thrilled to be here tonight to present this to council. First, I want to thank the excellent work of staff. The amount of data that was collected to really support our discussions at committee was unbelievable. And it's data that didn't really exist in the final stage in which it came to us. So it was a very heavy lift. And without that, it would have just been a massive hole that we wouldn't be able to move forward with any level of certainty on, confidence in the plan. Just a refresher, the report tonight, was inspired by a referral from Alderman Bram, Jensen, Hill, and Park. The referral asked the committee to consider the following. Prioritizing streets based on a predetermined criteria, a plan master plan that had no cost to residents, and new sidewalks budgeted on an annualized basis. So that was the referral, and I thank the alderman for that. The committee met nine times on this particular item, and it was very interesting as we were meeting late. It was quite often that other aldermen that were interested in this topic would actually join the committee meeting, and so that was a lot of fun as well. So early in our journey, we established the following guiding principles. The master plan will focus on establishing sidewalks on one side of the street for streets with no sidewalks. City staff will determine which side of the street is most appropriate during the design phase of that particular street. Given the size of the project, it needed to be broken down into prioritized phases with the completion target of 40 years. And it wasn't until the end of this process did we actually get to that 40-year time horizon. The duration may be shorter or longer. It'll totally depend upon the budgetary priorities set on an annualized basis by this council as well as future councils. Because of the importance of this initiative, it's imperative that every 3 years, the Public Affairs and Safety Committee reviews progress against the master plan and bring those findings to the annual budget process. So those are our guiding principles. And as we work through this, we hit some, key, milestones or toll gates. A key milestone, for the committee was aligning on how to prioritize the 196 segments that were identified by staff. So with staff's guidance, a robust rating system, was developed. This factored in safety concerns, proximity to shopping, commercial areas, schools, parks, public transportation, connectivity, et cetera. The rating system helped us develop a 40-year plan with 3 prioritized phases. Phase 1, with 14 segments that rated 50 points or higher, included approximately 6,200 linear feet, or 1.19 miles, was phase 1. Because a lot of this had to do with safe routes to school. And so I think when we look at all these phases in this initiative in general, safety is probably one of the top drivers for needing to do this for the community. So because of the sensitivity, safe routes to school, we put a 3-year completion target on that, which would bring it to about 2,100 linear feet per year. And by today's dollar, a linear foot is approximated to be $200. Some of these sidewalks are going to be pretty straightforward to put in. There's nothing in the way. There's nothing that has to be moved. Others are going to be a little more complex with respect to things that need to be moved, or potentially even the grade of the parkway. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, these there were 33 segments in phase 2, and these had rating scores of 36 to 49. That was approximately 15,500 linear feet, or 2.93 miles. So, given, again, this isn't as high priority as phase 1, as you can tell by the priority ranking, but still important. So we tagged a 7-year target completion date on that, and that's about 2,200 linear feet, per year. And that brings us to phase 3. This is our biggest segment, but these 149 segments had a rating score of 35 or less. And that equated to roughly 76,500 linear feet, or 14.9 miles. So obviously that's a lot of sidewalk. And therefore, we associated 30 years with this. So the highest priorities we hope to have done in the first decade, and the next 3 decades completing all segments. So that's a total of 196 segments, and a lot of linear feet and a lot of miles. So in order to execute this plan, this council and future councils will need to prioritize sidewalks alongside other infrastructure improvement programs such as asphalt street paving, concrete street paving, sanitary sewer lining, etc., during our annualized budget process. Staff will continue to look for state and federal funds to also help with the funding for these initiatives. So there is a controversy in our community over sidewalks and related to sidewalks. Some want them, some don't. It is the committee's belief, and please counter this point, but it's our belief that safety is the primary driver for the development of this plan and I appreciate your support and look forward to discussion on this report. Thank you.
All right, is additional, Alderman Jensen.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a long road to get to this point, but here we are. Alderman Hill is the professor up here.
Alderman Jensen, would you pull your microphone up? Thank you.
Alderman Hill is the professor up here, but I'll take a turn and give a little history. It all began for me anyway on June 7th, 2021, a month after I was sworn in to my first term, when former Third Ward Alderwoman Danny Polomsky and I put in a referral to ask the Public Works Committee to review our new sidewalk policy and see how we could begin to make progress on adding sidewalks where there were none. Through the leadership of Chair Brennan, who at that time was the head of Public Works, and the hard work of that committee and staff, that led to a report recommending constructing sidewalks on some designated safe routes to school, leading to Conrad Fisher and Churchville. Next came a referral by Alderman Brendan Bram and I to direct staff to determine funding plan for those safe routes to school sidewalks. As a result of those two referrals, sidewalks will be poured on one side of Crestview from York to Van Auken and one side of Indiana and Van Auken from Crestview up to the ComEd right away next year. After that was a referral by Alderwoman Bacido, Alderman Cahill, Hill, and myself to have builders construct sidewalks in front of new homes that did not have them. That, after much deliberation at the DPZ committee, turned into a sidewalk accrual fund. Finally, Alderman Bram, Hill, Alderwoman Park, and myself put in a referral to again revisit the sidewalk policy and create a sidewalk master plan, on which we will vote tonight. The first part of that, again, went to the Public Works Committee, where under Chair Bacido, the committee not only came up with a revised policy, but also a rubric to prioritize future sidewalks that may be constructed in the interest of public safety, which is built upon by the report tonight, and I think is a foundational piece of it. The second part of that went to, again, to Chair Brennan, this time at Public Affairs and Safety, who led the committee to report in front of us. This is a great report that I wholeheartedly support, and that will finally give a roadmap to Elmhurst that has safe infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists, and yes, children walking to school throughout our community. So thank you to Chairs Brennan, Bacido, former Chair Deuter, who led parts of this process in your committees, and thank you to the members of those committees, past and present, who had a hand in this. Finally, thank you to city staff for all your hard work that you put in over the last 4 years. It's been a long, tough journey, no doubt, but a very worthwhile one. I'm excited to support this report and hope the rest of you do as well. Thank you.
All right, additional discussion. Alderman Bram?
Thank you. First, I want to start out with saying thank you to staff, as well as every committee that has touched anything about sidewalks over the last couple of decades, which there's been many past as well as present aldermen. A little further back in history, 24 years ago when I first set foot in city council chambers here, sidewalks were controversial then just as well as they are today. As Alderman Jensen has mentioned, there has been a lot of headway over the years, over the decades, which has forged us to this point today. One statement I want to make is it does not, if this moves forward, the master plan moves forward, it does not eliminate the current policy that is in place, which allows residents to petition their block for sidewalks ahead of this proposed master plan schedule. As I stated, sidewalks has always been controversial ever since I've been here at City Hall. I think this, if it moves forward, is monumental. And a couple of reasons why. One of which, as I believe the alderman to my right could contest to, is that sometimes these discussions in regards to sidewalks, if you want them or not, depending on what side of the fence that you're on, it could literally divide neighborhoods and has in the past. By this city council possibly moving forward with this master plan, that eliminates the decision, takes it out of the hands of the residents, stops pitting one resident versus the next, and literally lays out a plan for everybody to have access to a sidewalk at least on one side of the street, albeit for decades, but at least we're making progress in the right direction. I also want to thank the other aldermen who were on this referral, Alderman Park, Alderman Hill, Alderman Jensen, for getting together, working out a referral that assisted coming to this point here tonight.
So I hope for your support. Again, thank you, staff. Thank you all present aldermen, all past aldermen who has ever had to endure the very controversial discussions of should we put or should we have sidewalks on a particular block or not. Thank you.
Alderman Bastido.
Thank you. And I know we're spending a lot of time talking about this, but this really, we have spent so much time on this, you know, in meetings, behind the scenes. And so I think it's appropriate that we spend time up here on the dais talking about it because it is a big project. And I don't think it's as controversial as maybe Alderman Bram because to me, it's a public safety issue. And, you know, the sidewalks will go on property that belongs to the city. And they will do it for the safety of the city. And I drive around and I've seen many times on these streets without sidewalks, people walking in the street, walking their dogs on Armitage, a young kid walking with a backpack on Crockett, presumably to Emerson. I followed a school bus down West Avenue that was dropping York kids off. And West Avenue is part of the Safe Routes to School. So it will be one of the first streets to get sidewalks. But phase 2 is important because I saw 8, 10, 12 kids get off at each stop on West Avenue and walk down Lorraine and other streets that don't have sidewalks, and they were walking in the street. So this is a priority for many of us up here, and I want to acknowledge that Chair Brennan had to deal with this a second time. He thought he was done with sidewalks, and it came back to him again, and he handled it very well, coming up with a compromise and a long-term plan that I think almost everyone, if not everyone, on the council, you know, will vote for. So I appreciate all the time that went into it. Some people are very passionate about sidewalks up here. You know who you are. And we appreciate, you know, the hard work that's gone into this. Stan and Kent, I have to call out particularly as being very helpful and giving great advice based on their experience and, you know, what they've seen in other communities for sidewalk programs, and that was extremely helpful. So thank you to staff. And I'm sure I forgot some of the people I wanted to thank, but this is a great moment in my mind.
Other discussion? Alderman Irby?
Thank you, Mayor. As an alderman that's been here 2 years and been in Elmhurst since 1993, I think this is a big moment, and I appreciate everybody who's worked on sidewalks. We still, I mean, even Ward 7, we have many of our end caps with no sidewalks, and the people do walk in the streets. That breaks my heart, and at this moment today, we can start looking forward to putting an end to that. I'm a little disappointed that we're at 40 years, but you know, we have to be realist. I get that. And safe routes to school is our #1 priority right out of the hole. 100% on board. If we can get it done quicker than 3 years, that'd be great. To Alderman Bastido's point that our kids are the future of Elmhurst, and we have to treat them accordingly. I think the onus on us today, after we pass this report, which I think we will, is going to be the budget process. Are we going to put the money down to get the job done? Are we going to go shorter than 40? Are we going to hit 40? Or are we going to go longer than 40? Well, I'll be long gone before that happens. Alderman Bellinger, I'm hoping he'll make it 40 years. He'll get to see that. So I think we need to be realist and realize this is a long haul. And I think Alderman Bastido will probably make 42. So just to be clear, have to be.
Check in with the council physician afterwards.
So I just want to stress on council how important the real work ahead on getting the budget for these sidewalks is really where we have to look forward to. We're just standing on the concrete here, but we got to put the concrete out there. Thank you.
Additional discussion. Alderman Toledo.
Thank you. Thank you to the committee and staff, everyone involved in this process as it's moved through our committee process and our council now. I intend to vote against this report tonight. Wanted to take a brief amount of time to explain to my colleagues and to members of the public my rationale for doing so. First off, I will be clear, I would support this report if it was only Phase 1, safe routes to school. Funding that over a number of years is reasonable and arguably important for the safety of our members of our school community. Phase 2 and Phase 3 is less clear for two primary reasons. The first reason is it's really not clear to me that there is overwhelming public support for putting sidewalks in all the way through Phase 3. There are trade-offs. Would a member of my constituency want less road resurfacing in order to put sidewalks in Phase 3? I don't believe that that would be the case. There's areas, especially in my ward, that have all of their sidewalks, or a large majority of them. And on behalf of those constituents, I also don't think that they would want to pay for other people's sidewalks when they paid for the sidewalk in front of their house with the purchase of their home. Even neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks, not all neighbors want those sidewalks. They cite the potential loss of mature trees and the loss of yard space as some of their reasons. Another concern I have with especially Phase 2 and Phase 3 is that there is no appeal process in this report. Currently, with the SSA process, if a neighborhood does not want a sidewalk, they have the ability to vote for that, either for or against. This current report, as far as I can tell, does not have any way for a block to request not to have a sidewalk installed that the city has identified for installation. That seems to me to be anti-democratic and an overreach of government. The second reason that Phase 2 and Phase 3 is less clear for me is that it relates really to the costs and the related trade-offs. The report states some of the following points from the referral: no cost to residents. Just because we are not raising new revenue or taxes does not mean that this program will not have a cost to residents. This money will come from other budget line items. The chair of the committee stated that that would include and would be allocated from other infrastructure, such as road and street resurfacing, asphalt resurfacing, and concrete streets. I would also point out to members of the public that the funding amount for this master plan is approximately $20 million in today's dollars. That is also how much the Finance Committee provided in a report to Public Affairs and Safety of the balance that we recommend raising property taxes for an upcoming police station if it moves forward. I think the public safety benefit of a functioning and safe police station outweighs the desired benefit of improved aesthetics, curb appeal, and overall safety of sidewalks. So the question for me comes down to, if we can find room in our general fund budget for approximately $500,000 a year for sidewalks, why wouldn't we use those funds to pay for the higher priority or other priorities of a police station, therefore not having to raise property taxes to pay for said police station? To sum up, governing is about making difficult trade-offs. If money grew on trees, I would be fully supportive of sidewalks throughout Elmhurst. But in this case, for me, I can support Phase 1 for sidewalks for safe routes to school, but the report is not written to include only Phase 1. It's written to include all three phases. I would rather see $500,000 a year go towards a safe and functional police station and not raise property taxes, rather than a Phase 2 and Phase 3 of this plan. That sums up my comments and my rationale. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Additional discussion, Alderman Hill.
Thank you. I'd like to take an opportunity to refute some of those points. I think the most important point of all this is this has been in process for 2 years, and I don't recall many of these items being brought up as input to the committee. I'm hearing them aired today on the day we're voting on it, and we've had a lot of time to take input from council members, and, you know, I'm hearing about an appeal process, a desire for that. It's the first time I've heard of it, and we've been working on this, as we said, for 9 meetings. So I think this is a little late in the game to be offering up alternatives to why a report does not meet these criteria that are not shared with others. So additionally, an appeal process, again, pits neighbor against neighbor, which is one of the problems we've seen with the current sidewalk process in Elmhurst, which does pit neighbor against neighbor. And I think, you know, to Alderman Bastido's point, this is city land that we put sidewalks on. And also the value of a sidewalk is not necessarily for just the homeowner, it's the connectivity that it provides for the entire city and the safety it provides, not just for the people that live there, but the people that walk through that area of town. So I also think that we're presented, you know, with Alderman Toledo's comments, that there's sort of a false dichotomy here, that it's either resurfacing roads or sidewalks, or it's the police station or sidewalks. I don't see it as that way. In fact, I think the 40-year long-term goals here are very cognizant of the costs, laying them out over a very long, path there, to borrow a metaphor, a path to affording sidewalks, which is something that other cities have done, right? In fact, we adopted some guidance from the Wheaton Plan and how they are finishing sidewalks across their cities. So I don't think we have to create an either-or here. I think we've considered that as part of our committee deliberations, and that's why we recommended such a long timeline. Finally, the sidewalks, it's hard to prioritize safety, right? They're included in the traffic studies we're paying for right now. We've got, in the KLOA reports, the importance of sidewalks is spelled out in every report that we approve. So I am a little troubled by the idea of saying, I mean, I understand safe roads to school, safe roads, safe paths to school.
Routes.
I knew it was not safe roads. We don't want them on the road, we want them on the sidewalk. So safe sidewalks to school, safe routes to school. I understand why we made that the first priority, but I think the intent there is to create safer roads eventually for everybody in Elmhurst, whether it's me walking across them. I know I'll make it to 91 to walk across them, knock on marble. I'm not going to go across and say who else can make it to 40 years from now. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. But I think with that being said, I understand some of the concerns, but I think the committee has deliberated the concerns that we've heard about and we've gathered as input over the large amount of time we've been deliberating this topic. So I hope for your support on it. And it's also one of the things I'm most proud of anything I've done here, proud of us as a city to do. This sort of thing is why I'm on council. It's probably going to be my high water mark, you know. I hope it passes. All right, that's all I have.
All right, additional discussion? Alderman Bram?
Yeah, Alderman Hill did a good job in regards to his summary or closing comments. I think his closing comments there. And I hope it's not your only high water mark, Alderman Hill. But I'll just say that we need to do as a council what's better for the whole of the city. This touches multiple parts of the city, just like we did when stormwater was an issue. We spent tens of millions of dollars to rectify our stormwater issues and continue to spend monies for stormwater and sanitary issues that we've had through town. This is similar, maybe not to the degree of stormwater and/or sanitary coming to your home, but it is, I believe, a safety issue. And I believe that spending these dollars for the safety of the neighborhoods, not the individual resident, but for the neighborhoods, is beneficial for all in the city of Elmhurst. I have no evidence that someone with sidewalks, if when they bought their house, that they quote-unquote paid for that sidewalk when they bought that house, just like I don't have evidence that they didn't pay for that sidewalk in front of their house when they purchased that house. But I think this is the biggest thing to point out here is this is on public property. So there shouldn't be an appeal process. This is our responsibility as a council to make decisions on what we should be doing within the public limits or the right-of-way. And I think this accomplishes it. And thank you once again, the staff and committee, and I hope I have your support.
All right. I think everyone who's spoken that wants to speak. City Manager, Acting Assistant City Manager.
All right, ready for roll?
Ready for roll.
Alderman Hill?
Aye.
Alderman Shanko?
Aye.
Alderman Jensen?
Aye.
Alderman Bram?
Aye.
Alderman Cahill?
Aye.
Alderman Toludo?
No.
Alderman Park?
Aye.
Alderman Nudera?
Aye.
Alderman Bastido?
Aye.
Alderman Nardini?
Aye.
Alderman Brennan?
Aye.
Alderman Irby?
Aye.
Alderman Bellinger?
Aye.
Alderman Veremis?
Aye. Aye, excuse me.
13 ayes, 1 nay.
13 ayes, 1 nay, and report 6.8 is adopted. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, reports and recommendations of elected officials. There is a community conversation on public safety that Chief McLean and I will be hosting at the police station at 125 East First Street. We're going to start with tours at 5:30 p.m. and then we'll have a presentation at 6:30 p.m. It's my intent to record this. I keep running into people around town who, particularly those who listen to social media or watch social media, whatever you call it, and saying, you're just not putting the information out there as to why we need a new police station. So among the places you might look are, I think I spoke at 2/3 of my time at the State of the City address. It was featured in the front porch. I wrote a mayor's column on it, dedicated to that. We have posted on our website the space needs analysis that from 2017 that initiated the conversation, identified the problem. We have a set of videos that are on our website that break it down area by area, the evidence, the facilities such as the HVAC, ADA non-compliance, et cetera. And yet, I'm surprised people don't understand it. So it's important to be educated, and I'm doing this so that anyone who has, and I've even seen, we've created the videos so that they make them look worse than they are. I will raise my hand and say, I've been there, they look just as bad as they are in the video. But if you don't want to take my word for it, come and tour the police station and see what the condition looks like. I also want to, and we're not necessarily going to feature this at the presentation, we may talk about it a little bit, is that I hear repeated questions about, did you ever think of remodeling? Did you think of building on? And for those who've been on the Finance Committee or the Public Affairs and Safety Committee, of course, we've been looking at this for years. Did you think about putting it somewhere else? Did you think about what's going to happen, where the police officers are going to go if you tear it down and build a new police station? We can answer any of those questions, but as every alderman knows here, we've looked at those time after time. And I give a great deal of credit to the Finance Committee and staff for the work they did to identify a hotel and motel tax that would pay, raising it by 1%, selling a piece of property, timing the issuance of bonds so that it would come out to a total cost for a $500,000 homeowner of $53 a year. And among the things we'll talk about on Thursday are the ability to recruit and retain police officers, to have a police station that functions. We want people in town thank our police officers. They talk about what a great police department we have. I think it's been touted a bit that a financial aid website did a pretty thorough analysis and ranked us number 8th in terms of safest suburbs in the entire country. And so if we want to keep that safety, to keep the quality of our police department, we have to equip them to do that. So, I feel like, from my perspective, you can't just say you support the police. We have to give them the tools. You can't say you care about public safety. You have to give them the tools to protect us. So if you don't understand the project, if you want to understand it, if you want to understand it and then complain about it, come out on Thursday, see the police station, see the presentation, ask the questions. I invite all aldermen who would like to be there to help in this effort to attend. So I'll get off my soapbox for a minute. I also want to mention the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is one of the biggest and most entertaining events, is March 8th. It'll be on Spring Road, starts at noon, and I hope you'll all come out and enjoy that. City Manager?
No reports tonight.
All right, thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the council this evening? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion, Alderman Jensen. Second, Alderman Brennan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you.